Hello, welcome to another edition of the League's review/preview show. I am your host, co-commissioner and your league champion, Samuel Wood. Welcome back. After another great week of games, we're going to take a look back and see how things happened and why teams are in the situations they are in right now. So let's start off. Firstly, I want to begin with Mr. Simon Kay, the NFL analyst himself, going up against George. I am not managing my team, Ashley. You know, part of me thinks that we should remove Ashley from this league, but the fact is, he beat Mr. K this week when Mr. K really should have won. Because let's be honest, George isn't even playing fantasy football anymore. He has left his team. You know, the league is looking into new owners. There's been a couple of people step up and express interest in becoming a league owner already, so we're really excited about that. We may even have 10 teams next year, but more on that later. The thing we love is that Simon Kay got absolutely battered by someone that isn't even playing. You know, this guy, Mr. K, claims to have so much knowledge about football. He claims he's going to be the dogs at this game, and he is shocking. He's 2-8. He's 2 games out of the playoffs now. He needs to get to 4-6 to even be in the playoffs. And he's well off. He's not even close. He's 2 wins behind. And his team has done nothing. Now I'm looking at his team right now here. Jordan Cameron, no points. His kicker got more points than one of his running backs, 2 of his wide receivers. You know, you can't understand. I can't understand this. You know, Kelvin Benjamin bowed him out last night, 21 points. You know, it's just. And you look at his bench everywhere. Yeah, I'll give him his due. He's got a lot of players on the bye, but he sat Brandon Marshall. You know, he drafted this guy to be a starting wide receiver, a 1 or probably a 2 for Simon. Instead, he plays, you know, AJ Green and Kelvin Benjamin. You know, AJ is still not right. There's something wrong with Simon, really, when it comes to his team selection. George, obviously, his team, I think his team might have even been on auto pick, but you know, he's got DeMarco Murray, he's got Aaron Rodgers, he's got Emmanuel Sanders, he's got some good solid players, and they've beaten Si this week. You know, I think what Si needs to do is give up on this season, maybe trade away his players for picks next year. You can some may know you can trade picks for next year away if you're willing to give them up. I think what Simon's got to do is try and look for someone who's wanting to win this year and look to get another first rounder, because we know he'll probably mess that up somehow as well. Anyway, moving on to the next game, we're going to have a look at this one. Was a really good game actually. Cool Runnings going up against Natural Disaster. Good team name. It was pretty tight going into Tuesday night's game, but you know, Craig's just pulled a win out again. Des Bryant, 35 points. Justin Forsett, a great pickup. Some of his players didn't really show up. Sammy Watkins, Daniel Walker, a bit quiet. But, you know, Andy just struggled a little bit with his wide receivers this week. Antonio Brown's been his guy this year. Wasn't there this week. Only 7.3 points. That's not enough from your number 1 wide receiver, the best wide receiver in the league at the moment, if you ask me. His running back's still okay. Solid 20 points, but if your wide receiver only scored 10, you need them to score 30. If you're going up against someone like Craig, who is putting up big numbers, 178 this week, that's a good score, you know. Peyton Manning, his first round draft pick, Peyton Manning. You know, Craig took a gamble, 53 points this week. I think Rodgers outscored him, but yeah, Rodgers outscored him by half a point. You know, so, you know, Peyton's going to put you up big numbers, and I think they're coming good at the right time for Craig. Andy at 4-6 now, he's in a tough position. He's still 5th, but he's well off of the top 4, which is where you need to be really if you want to make a run at the playoffs. He's going to have to win 2 very hard games in the playoffs, I think. Can he do it? It depends on how if the top 4, you know, we've got a top 4 in this league at the moment. I'd say a top 2, but we'll go with top 4 for now. That are pretty solid week to week. If one of them has one bad week, the week after, it's likely someone's going to have a good week against him. So I can't see him making a deep run at the playoffs simply because of the tough matches he's going to have to play. If he was higher up in the regular season, he'd have a chance, but I don't see it coming through this year for him, I'm afraid. Next match, the Smith brothers. Thomas Smith, my boy, He got the win this week against the Seahawks. Seahawks had a really rough week of it, really rough, you know. We thought Shady McCoy might be able to save him with a monster Tuesday night. Wasn't to be, only 9.6 points. You look down Tom's team, it's Marshawn Lynch. Oh, imagine if you wouldn't have started him. 47 points, ran all over those New York Giants. Shame Sherman couldn't cover Odell Beckham. But anyway, yeah, you know, but Smith, he really showed. Terrence Williams, 0 points. Vernon Davis, 1.5 points. Sanu, 3.7. You know, these are the games that Charles should be winning if he wants to be considered a top fantasy player. His team really average. I think the problem he's got is that his running backs didn't show up this week, and if that happens, he's out of the game because, all due respect to Randall Cobb, Julio Jones, they're irregular in their scoring this year. And Andre Ellington, you know, he didn't look great this week, so we'll see about Charles. He also made a tactical error not putting the defence in, but we'll forgive him for that. He's a busy man. Lastly, what can we say that hasn't already been said about this guy? Ollie Hume. There was a bit of banter flying about with Ollie on the group chat about how he's always on holiday and his excuses, you know, from Mr. Willis. We really enjoyed Mr. Willis coming out firing on that. That was a very funny exchange in the group chat where he was just ripping on everyone. We like to see that. Really, this match was a blowout from the start. You know, Wood's team was just too good overall. You know, look at the regular score and let's go through the team. Kaepernick, 20 points. That's not great for a quarterback. Denard Robinson, 19.2. It's a great score again. Eddie Lacy, 22.4. We'll take it. Jordy Nelson, 35 points. What a player. Calvin's back. Wood's been saying it. He's been saying it for a long time. His team is peaking. Calvin is back, and there he goes with 25 points. Jimmy Graham, 26.6. Should have been more. That's not. That was a push-off. We know it was a push-off. We know it should have been a touchdown. I thought it was a touchdown. I was very happy to see him score. Wasn't to be, but there's more points coming from Mr. Graham. Ben Tate, 14.5. Now, that's your flex. Considering he had a couple of players on the bye, a couple of injuries, that's his flex, you know. Crosby kicked 15. The Steelers' defence did okay. You know, the only reason Ollie was even close was because he had the Eagles' defence with 31 points, which is a massive score for a defence. It may be the highest this year. Wood, but the thing with Wood is he's got players on his bench coming back. I'm looking at it, that's scary. Brandon Fells, regular scorer in the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's going to be in the mix for the flex. Martavis Bryant, you know, this guy who's come from where has he come from the Steelers? He picked him up. He's got 26 this week. If Wood would put him in the flex, it's another 10 points. He's looking at a 200-point score. The thing we're most looking forward to though is Josh Gordon. If this guy comes back and the Browns play well, then we think Wood is going to be very tough to beat because that is going to mean he's going to have a monster lineup. You go through his team, then you've got Kaepernick, Eddie Lacy, Rashard Jennings, Jordy Nelson, Calvin Johnson, Jimmy Graham, Josh Gordon. I mean, come on. And then he's got the bench where he can just do what he wants with it. He can tinker with it. He can trade it. He can do whatever he needs to do. This is going to be a guy who's peaking at the right time. We like his chances for the season. Ollie, 6-4. He's fallen back a little bit now. He'll be in the playoffs, we're pretty sure. It will be who he comes up against in those playoffs is going to be vitally important. We'll look at that in later weeks on the show. It's going to be who you draw. If you're drawn against someone who's on form, you're not going to get out of it. You need to get a bit of luck in where you finish. So you need to start looking at that now. See where you want to finish. Maybe tinker a team. Maybe take it a bit easier one week. You know, sometimes maybe rest your players like the Andy Reid likes to do in week 17. You know, rest your players and wait and see. Get yourself in the right position to make a run of it in the later stages of the season. Now we're moving on to next week, week 11. Crazy stuff. Cool Brunnings, Simon K, blowout central. Brunning wins it. Simon is a joke, absolute joke. I think he should just put in another tenner to apologise to the rest of the league and say, look, I'll come back next year. He is terrible at this game. I don't know what he thinks he's doing with his team. He's drafted shocking. He's, for 2 years, drafted shocking. He's picked shocking for 2 years. I have no idea what he's going to do. It's a blowout. Let's go 45 points to Brunning with the win. Next up, Seahawks. Natural disaster. Tough one, because Craig has actually got a couple of buys. I'm looking at it now. It's a tough one. He's not got a lot of points back. Yeah, you know, I'm looking at Craig, Charles's team. I expect him to bounce back. This is going to be the tightest game of the week. I'm going to go over Charles win by 5 points. Only 5 points. It's going to be an incredibly tight game. The reason I'm saying that, Justin Forsett and Des, they've been Craig's two main contributors. Larry, he can be on and off. Rainey, on and off. Delaney Walker, on and off. I'm going to go with the bigger names. The name team, which is Charles. He's got some of the best names possible on his team. I worry about that though, but I'm going to go with Charles by 5. A tight win. Next up, Ollie Hume, George's Colts. Well, it's pretty obvious who I'm going to go with here. I'm going to go with Ollie, but you never know. If George keeps winning, we might as well stop playing, because he's not even trying, and he's just won 2 games against 2 people. So God knows what he's been doing, but we're not impressed. Lastly, Best Smith brother going up against Instagram. Do I expect Mr. Smith to be able to put up more than 150 points? No. Do I expect Wood to put up more than 150 points? Absolutely. It's a blowout. It's a win for Woods. It's not even a question. Wood's going straight to the playoffs. He's probably going there as the regular season champion. Josh Gordon, these guys coming back, you know, he's peaking at the perfect time. He's excited. We know that. And yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing this week's matches come up and see the league sort of pan out for the playoffs. You know, if you're not in the playoffs, Simon, don't cry. George, you don't care, so it doesn't matter. But Si, don't cry if you're not in the playoffs, mate. You'll recover next year. You can draft first pick in the draft next year. You can mess that up. Good luck with you with that. Start doing your draft prep now. Anyway, it's been another great show. Thank you for listening, and good luck with your match this week, unless you're playing Mr. Wood, and we'll see you next week.